All-Star game, bro.
Right.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatic Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Jake and I are talking about the Brewers, and that's what we are going to start with today. So we have 4 Milwaukee Brewer games today, part of a pretty jam-packed show, honestly. We're also going to give an update, a minor league report for the AA Biloxi Shuckers for our minor league report this week. And then we're also going to be discussing the Milwaukee Bucks. This is going to be kind of part 1 of our off-season discussion points for the Milwaukee Bucks. In a few weeks, we'll be discussing some transactions. And then after that, we'll have the draft discussions as well. So lots of different stuff coming up for today's show. But we're going to jump in. And, Jake, let's talk about the 6-0 shutout of the New York Yankees.
Yeah, what a way to start the series. What a way to start the weekend. Mizorowski on the mound versus the Yankees. So anytime you hear the Yankees, it's big-time baseball, right? Like whether we like it or not, you either hate them or you love them. And for us, obviously, we hate them. So the Brewers start this series, 6 innings from Mizorowski, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 11 Ks. That's his fifth. This is Mizorowski's 5th career 10-plus K game, 3rd this season. He also has 2 games this year with 9 strikeouts and 1 with 8 strikeouts. So you're going to strike out if this guy's on the mound. Oh, by the way, Padres, if you didn't know, he's on the mound tonight. So he's on fire. Get that radar gun ready because in this one, this is his 2nd game of back-to-back games throwing 41 pitches at 100-plus miles per hour. That's just nasty stuff. And it started in the 1st inning when he threw 5 of the fastest pitches by a starting pitcher in the StatCast era, which started in 2008. In the 1st inning, he threw 10 pitches. 7 of them were 103 miles an hour. Oh, my God. The other were 102 miles an hour, dude. Dude, the guy came up fired up, dude.
Yeah.
Nasty. He threw a total of 10 pitches at 103 miles per hour. He hit 103.6, which read 104 on the radar gun on the television, but it was 103.6 officially. He has the 60 fastest pitches thrown by a starter this year. He has the top 60. Like, they all belong to him. Brewers are on fire. I definitely
that stat. It came from Codify on Twitter, and it's funny. And I even showed this to my wife. I'm like, look, these are the 60 fastest pitches of baseball, and she's like, "Is it all the same guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's all the same guy." All Jacob Mizorowski.
It's just this guy is just 6'7", loves Pokemon, and he throws 100 miles an hour. It's ridiculous what this guy does, honestly. Yeah, the offense got going in the 2nd inning, scored 4 runs in the 2nd, scored a run in the 3rd, then they got a run in the 7th inning. But really the star of the day was Mizorowski. So most of my notes are just about Mizorowski. So I have some more stats for you. Over his last 2 starts, he's 11 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 runs, 4 walks, and 19 strikeouts. He's the first pitcher 24 or younger with a 2-game span of 19 Ks and 2 or fewer hits and no runs allowed since Rube Marquette in 1911, which is just insane to think about, over 100-plus years ago. Pitchers with 155 Ks and less than 100 hits allowed in the first 23 games of their career. Hidu Nomo, 205 strikeouts, 99 hits. Paul Skeens, 170 strikeouts, 94 hits. And Jacob Mizorowski with 157 strikeouts and 76 hits. This was the first shutout of the Yankees by the Brewers at home since September 2nd, 1992. And if you don't know, that is the day before I was born.
Yep.
So now I will always know for the rest of my life that the last game before I was born, the Brewers shut out the Yankees and they won. So the vibes were high when I heard that. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Also want to give out a shout out to Shane Drowan. He did a really nice job eating up 3 innings. 7 of the 10 batters that he faced, he got first pitch strike, so he was out there attacking. Mizorowski was 17 of 22, by the way. So they were absolutely filling up the strike zone. Only 1 hit and 3 strikeouts by Drowan to get the Brewers to 14 Ks. They struck out the Yankees, one of the most prolific offenses in baseball, 19 times and they got 3 2-out RBIs, 5 for 11 runners in scoring position. Runners in scoring position is a stat that the Brewers actually lead the entire Major League Baseball in batting average-wise.
Nice. Love that. So I had the numbers on the Yankees coming in. They were number 1 in homers, number 2 in slugging, number 3 in runs, and number 3 in OPS.
Wow.
So the Yankees are top of the league in a lot of hitting statistics. Jacob Mizorowski was really good to see him good to go after the scare that we had after his last outing. It was good to see that he didn't need to spend any time on the injured list or anything. Got a 2-3 pitch strikeouts back to back to start the game, and then got Aaron Judge to fly out. Those 10 pitches, the slowest one of those 10 was 102.7. He set a record at 103.5, then literally broke his own record that he just set for the fastest pitches in the StatCast era, like Jake said. Spencer Jones gets called up, and the first pitcher that he gets to face is Jacob Mizorowski. That's a rough. First, at bat, he gets 103.6 on the corner, on the inside corner for strike 2, and then gets an 89-mile-an-hour curveball.
Yeah.
That does not sound fun at all. Him and Aaron Judge both talked about Mizorowski after the game, calling his pitches some of the best that they've seen. And I don't think that there's really any arguing with that. And I'm not saying that Jacob Mizorowski is going to be the best pitcher that those guys ever see, but some of the pitches that he throws will probably be some of the hardest pitches you will ever see.
So I did write one thing down, and I did highlight one thing on my notes, and I was going to say it's time for us to start the Cy Young campaign, but
yep.
Man, after reading Twitter and Facebook and all these people, I think everybody's on board with starting a Cy Young campaign for Jacob Mizorowski.
Yeah, for sure. He got Judge to fly out in his first at-bat, got him to strike out on a fastball in his second at-bat. His 70th pitch was 103 miles an hour. His 71st pitch ended the 9th inning on his 9th strikeout. He got Judge again to strike out. He threw him 102 miles an hour on his 90th and 91st pitches of the game. Then he threw 103 on his 92nd pitch of the game and got Cody Bellinger to strike out for his 11th strikeout in the 6th innings, gave up 2 hits and 2 walks. This was his 6th game of 8+ strikeouts, including 4 straight this season.
Damn.
He's on a crazy run right now. You mentioned Joan finishing the game, which is great. That's helpful. Honestly, I give Jacob Mizorowski even a little bit of extra credit for continuing to pitch really dominantly, despite seeing Brandon Lockridge get hurt, which was, it's kind of a forgotten part of this game. But, thankfully, he sounds like he's only going to be out for a couple weeks. He's just got a big cut on his knee and then some bruising. Thankfully, nothing that's going to keep him out, for the rest of the season or anything. Right. But yeah, I give Mizorowski a little bit of credit for that. Seeing him get hurt with a runner in scoring position on a really bad cut. I mean, it's good that Mizorowski was able to stay locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the first of 2 4-3 wins, and this one took place in extra innings. Honestly, this was a game where it's like, okay, we'll see what the Brewers, we're going to have a rubber match for tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. But the Brewers, they have seen a ton of great pitching this year. Obviously we had the Cy Young stretch a couple weeks ago, and they had to see Alcantara and then Skubal and then Skeens. And now you can add, Max Fried, who they were able to get to a little bit on Friday night. But on Saturday, they got to see Cam Schlittler, who is really good, super young and really good.
Yeah, leading MLB and ERA, by the way, for people who don't know.
And he got hit with a line drive from William Contreras in the first inning and still pitched really well. He still threw a season-high 97 pitches against the Brewers. So, I mean, credit to him. I mean, that's tough. Kyle Harrison allowed a leadoff home run to a Brewers killer. Fucking A, Paul Goldschmidt, can you just retire already? I'm tired of you hitting against the Brewers all the time. But then he struck out.
What I wrote down, dude?
What'd you write down?
I said, can Can Paul Goldschmidt fuck off? Guy could be 50 and the worst hitter in MLB, and he would still find a way to hit a goddamn homer against the Brewers. Jesus Christ! I'm
so
sick
he drove in your second run too. It's like, dude, can you?
Yeah, dude, he's balding in like 4 spots in his head, and he's hitting home runs against us. What is happening?
Yeah, it's like he walks into AmFam and he's like, I fucking hate this place. Like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, dude.
I don't even dislike Goldschmidt, but he still is just like, I fucking hate the Brewers. Like,
yeah. I don't hate
Take it easy.
Yeah,
that shit against the Cubs. Anyways, Brewers killer gets a leadoff home run. Kyle Harrison rebounded to strike out Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger in the same inning, so good on him. Had 4 strikeouts and 2 walks in the first 2 innings pitched. He threw some really nasty slurves, and we're back to calling them slurves and not calling them sweepers, or now they're 2 different things. I don't know. Like, they used to call it slurve, but then they changed it to sweeper, and now sometimes you see slurve, sometimes you see sweeper. Whatever. Did allow the Yankees to load the bases with nobody out. Only allowed 1 run in that situation, so that's very good to limit damage in a situation like that. And naturally, like I said, Goldschmidt gets the RBI, but Luis Rengifo did do a really good job to snare a ball and make sure that didn't end up plating multiple runs. Another 1 or 2 runs could have scored on that hot liner if Luis Rengifo didn't knock it down. Harrison threw 4 innings pitched, had 2 earned runs, did have 4 walks, which is a little high, and 6 strikeouts and 77 pitches, which against this lineup, like I said, this Yankees lineup that's top 5 in pretty much every statistical category as far as offense is concerned. That's not bad. Did have a situation in the top of the 5th where Cody Bellinger got an infield single and was caught stealing on an insane tag by Bryce Terang. To help that situation as well. Chad Patrick got his first relief appearance of the season, and I don't feel the need to want Chad Patrick in a relief role long term. Apparently, it's something that's being discussed, but it seems like he's better in relief. Like, I mean, you think about the playoff games that he pitched in last year, he was a monster in relief. And then he comes in this game, and spoiler alert, we'll have another one where he's coming in relief, but the Brewers had a postponed game against the Cardinals last week. They had 2 days off this week, so there's like a piggyback situation kind of with Harrison and Patrick in this game. First batter that he faces is Aaron Judge, strikes him out looking with a cutter after the game, described it as the best cutter that he's ever thrown, and it moved. I swear it moved like horizontally like 8 inches.
Yeah.
Which on a variation of a fastball is insane.
That's gross.
It looks like a slider, except it was like 92 miles an hour.
That's sick.
Yeah. So strikes out Judge, gets the caught stealing from Cody Bellinger, gets another strikeout gets another strikeout in the 6th inning. Luis Rengifo makes a barehanded web gem in the 6th inning. That was awesome. He was hitting 96 or 97 even in that 6th inning. So, like, I don't know what it is. Like, he comes in out of the bullpen and he's just, like, juiced and ready to go. Had one of the hits that he gave up was off the back of the mound. The 2 hits that he gave up in the 3 innings that he pitched. Had 1 walk and 5 strikeouts. And then after that infield single off the back of the mound, he got a ground into double play. So he perfectly picked himself up there. So Chad Patrick, awesome. Aaron Ashby, 2 strikeouts in the 9th inning. He busted out a slider to get a strikeout looking of Ben Rice in the 10th inning, who is a really, really good hitter. He's actually a player that I really, really like. I'm pretty high on Ben Rice. So that's awesome by Aaron Ashby. He pitched 2 innings, allowed an unearned run. He allowed the inherited runner to score. Gave up a walk, which was an intentional walk, had 3 strikeouts, got his 7th win. I'm going to let Jake talk a little bit more about Aaron Ashby because he's very excited about it. The offense was pretty quiet early in this game, in game 2 against the Yankees. Schlittler did not allow a runner to reach second base. Mm-hmm. There was a situation where they would have had somebody at second base. It would have been Garrett Mitchell, but Pat Murphy wasn't allowed to challenge an out on a fielder's choice, and the umpire told him that too much time had passed. So I went back and I replayed that play of Garrett Mitchell being called out at second base, and I started a timer from the out call to when Pat Murphy does the earmuffs thing to mark that he wants to challenge, and it was 19 seconds. You get 30
They give you 30 seconds?
I'm pretty sure it's 30 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
And, yeah, it was 19 seconds from when he got called out to when Murphy made the challenge motion. But the first pitch that was seen by a relief pitcher in this game, Jake Bauers put it into the beer pen, so that was cool. In the bottom of the 8th, Brewers 2 outs. Base is empty. Bryce Durang hits a single. Steals second base. William Contreras delivers a single. Bryce Durang beat the throw at home. Bottom of the 10th, they move the line, just moving the line. Luis Vanquifo drawing a walk. 2 infield hustle plays and a sac fly to score the 2 runs that they needed to win the game. So this is a very Brewers-y game, and even if you mix in a solo home run, for them to be kind of locked down by a really good pitcher, get some really good pitching of their own, and then do just enough offensively to get to that magic number of 4 and get the win. So, Jake, what'd you take away from game 2?
Yeah, so after I wrote about Paul Goldschmidt fucking off, I wrote down that Harrison had 4 Ks in the first 2 innings. Started to have a little bit of command issues and 1 mistake pitch ended his day early. Chad Patrick is just a dog coming out of the pen, is quite literally what I wrote down.
He's like a different guy.
He is. I don't know what it is. He comes out of the pen and he hits 97 a few times, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy, dude?
Right.
He looked confident, in control. Did get some help. I like that you brought up the insanely athletic play by Turang. It seems like everybody now runs that play where the catcher kind of throws it to the first base side and just lets the second baseman or shortstop make a play and try to tag him on the move. So really nice play by Turang, showing that he is still a platinum glove level player, well hitting 300 and for power to all fields. I mean, the guy is just incredible, honestly. Brewers pitching and defense kept them in this game, being down 2-0 in the bottom of the 7th. The Brewers cut the lead in half from Bauers, 420 feet. Then they got back-to-back singles and a stolen base to tie it up. Turang single steals second. Contreras cashes in, like you said. A clean 9th from both teams, or we're getting free baseball. The Brewers are 1-2 in the extra innings going into this extra innings. But fear not, because like last year, this Brewers team just doesn't know when to quit, honestly. A silly mistake by the Yankees pitcher trying to throw the guy out at third base.
Yeah, that was weird.
Just what an absolute boneheaded play. He did talk about it after the game, and he said that his instincts told him to throw to third. Well, your instincts were fucking wrong, buddy. That's all I'm gonna say. Sanchez fly out, Churio infield's RBI single, Turang fielder's choice, and then Contreras. He did a really nice job. He saw 2 pitches. Both pitches were low and away, obviously trying to make him hit something on the ground, but he did a really, really nice job getting lift and getting it deep enough to score Rengifo for the game-winning run. First walk-off of the year. And I do have a stat on Aaron Ashby that I found from Baseball's Not Dead on Twitter. It says most wins through May 9th in their innings pitched since 1974. Now, on this list are 14 pitchers who had at least 7 wins. The lowest amount of innings on here is 46 until you get to Aaron Ashby. Because he only has 25 innings pitched through May 9th and has 7 wins. So from 46 to 63 is where the amount of innings is for guys that have 7. There's 2 guys on here with 8 wins. One's in 1988, one's in 2008. But everybody else was a starting pitcher. He's just and they talked about it in after the game. I think it was Chad Patrick that said that they call him the vulture. Yeah, when he comes in, you're just like, well, this guy's probably going to steal my win here. And he probably stole a couple from Brandon Sproat, honestly.
Yeah.
Because Brandon Sproat, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, got his first major league win last night. But Aaron Ashby has been very impressive. I have something to say about him after next game as well.
Yeah. Really quick on the last thing on the second game, William Contreras also won 2 challenges behind the plate, so good job by him as well. Did have a full count that turned into a strikeout in this game for DL Hall by winning a challenge, so good job by William Contreras behind the plate. He is not getting enough respect nationally for how good of a two-way player he is.
Dude, he had his fingerprints all over this game. The line drive, that was a 108 off the calf, by the way. That had to hurt. I don't care what anybody says. Then he threw a guy out, threw Bellinger out, winning the challenges. He got the game-winning hit. I mean, he was
he had the game-tying and the game-winning hit.
Yeah, game-tying and game-winning. Yeah, he was all over this game, dude. This was a Contreras game.
Yeah. Well, he tied the game at 2 and then had the game or the hit that won it 4-3. But yeah, he had the game tying and the game winning hit.
Yeah.
All right. Game 3, Brewers and Yankees. This one not in extra innings. What did you take away from the third game of this series?
Yeah, so before this one started, I saw a stat and I wrote it down right away. I ran downstairs, grabbed a notebook. I was like, I'm writing this down right now. Brewers are 36-22 on Mother's Day, best record in the majors. So Brewers like moms. We have that in common. So Henderson's on the mound. Henderson has been so good for us the last couple of years. He gave us 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 5 Ks today. The Yankees were looking to avoid a sweep and got an early first-inning homer from Judge, who I'm going to talk about it right now. They held him in check very well. The home run that he hit off Henderson was his second hit of the series. He was 2 for 9, had 4 walks. He had 3 walks in game 2, had a walk in this one. So 2 for 9, 4 walks, and 6 Ks. So 6 of his 9 at-bats were strikeouts. That's very good stuff. Against one of the best players in all of Major League Baseball. Some people call him the best. If you're in the East Coast, some people in the West Coast call him the second best. I don't care what you call him. He's top 5.
Yeah.
They got another RBI single. So another day, another 2-0 lead for the Yankees. But the Brewers got the bats going in the 4th after having only 2 people on base in the first 3 innings. Both of them were walks. Churio in the first inning and Vaughn in the second. Back-to-back walks by Contreras and Sanchez in the 4th inning. A hit by pitch by Vaughn, and bases are loaded. And it's starting to look like Brewers baseball. We're like, oh, yeah. Now the snake strikes, right? Rengifo with a fielder's choice. Mitchell with a sac fly. And then a guy who, if there's 2 people on this team who needed a big hit, I'm going to tell you right now, back-to-back days, they both got big hits. Because Blake got a very big RBI double after a wild pitch, moved both runners to second and third. So to take the lead, the Yankees ended up tying it in the 6th inning. It stayed 3-3 until the 9th inning. It was pretty boring baseball for a couple innings there. A lot of strikeouts, a lot of bad swings, just really good pitching and defense.
Double plays.
Yeah. So so I wrote this down. So strikeout to start the 9th inning. And, everybody's coming to the 9th inning. And, of course, on Mother's Day, what do you think about on Mother's Day? You think about Bill Hall.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, outside of, thinking about, your mom, that you love your mom, you're like, man, Bill Hall hit that home run in 2006. So you get double strikeout. You get bottom 9, 2 outs, and you're just like, wish Bill Hall could be at bat right now. Well, how about a second baseman who also wears number 2? This guy's pretty good, by the way. He decides to be like, yeah, no extra innings today. Hits a walk-off home run, and I'm just like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened, dude. Didn't have to wait. We didn't have to wait for the second walk-off of the year, the first sweep of the Yankees since 1989.
Yeah.
This is the first time with back-to-back walk-offs since last year versus the Red Sox. Wanted to talk 2 things, then I'll give the floor to you. One, wanted to talk about Aaron Ashby, who absolutely dominated the 8th inning. He had a strikeout on a changeup, a strikeout on a sinker, gave up a single to Belly, and then had a strikeout on a nasty curveball. Could not happen to a better person. I think Jazz Chisholm, especially after Friday night, and you hear the way and watch how CC Sabathia carries himself, he just feels like a nice, cool dude. Jazz Chisholm, to me, I'm sorry, he might be cool, but when I watch him and I hear how he talks, I just feel like that guy's a douchebag. That's just how I feel about him, honestly. And, it's not me hating. Whatever. You can have swag. You can do whatever. It's just the way that you carry yourself. I feel like he's kind of a dickhead, to be honest with you. So couldn't happen to a better person, in my opinion. So he might go from Everyday Aaron, which I love that nickname, to All-Star Aaron pretty goddamn soon, because you cannot keep the wins leader out of the All-Star game. I don't care if he's a relief pitcher. This guy is nasty. He has 5 or 6 pitches that he can throw at any time, any count, to any hitter. He has just been so good, so filthy for the Brewers this year. Honestly, if Mizorowski didn't exist, people would be talking up Aaron Ashby the way they talk about Mizorowski.
The batters that he faced in the 8th inning alone to end up with 3 strikeouts and a bloop single versus Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, and Jazz Chisholm, those are 4 horsemen of really good offense for the Yankees.
Yeah.
And He went strikeout swinging, strikeout looking, bloop single, strikeout swinging.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. Logan Henderson did get bit on a slider a couple times. The solo home run to Judge and the 1-out double that he gave up in the second inning, he stopped throwing them after that. He only ended up throwing 4 sliders in the entire game, so he kind of just stopped. So it was maybe not the best team to try out a slider against. I mean, his fastball and changeup were way better. Those are his 2 best pitches. Maybe not the Yankees is the time to be like, all right, I'm going to start mixing in the slider today. Just maybe throw what you got. Like, throw your good stuff and throw the stuff that you're working on in AAA all you want. Just maybe not against the Yankees if you're going to throw it in the bigs.
Yeah, Aaron Judge is not the guy to experiment.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Judge is not the guy to throw the pitch that you're working on.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah. So that was that. He did get Judge back in the third with a strikeout. He retired the final 11 batters that he faced, so that's a really great way to end your day. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, had a walk, had the 2 earned runs and the strikeouts, and 5 strikeouts. Blake Perkins, not only did he have a day, like you mentioned, him getting the 2-out single to drive in 2 runs, but he just had a great day in general. For him, his mom passed away last July. He actually made a great catch in the top of the first inning as well, and then had that 2 RBI single for the lead in the bottom of the 4th. Also, underrated part of the game, Gary Sanchez catching Aaron Judge trying to steal in the top of the 6th, saved a run. Cody Bellinger drew a 2-out walk after that and was doubled in by Jazz Chisholm. That easily could have been a 2-run double, ended up only being 1 run that tied the game. So that's one of those things where it doesn't, it does show up in the scorebook, but the fact that there could have been an extra run scoring in that situation if he hadn't been caught, like that needs to be brought up. Like, you don't get that from looking at the plays in order of the game. That stuff needs to be brought up. We talked about Ashby. You talked about the first sweep of the Yankees since 1989. This was also the first time the Brewers ever hit back-to-back walk-offs against the Yankees. Never been done in Brewers franchise history. Not that you would want to be in that situation, but, obviously it's been 37 years since the last time they swept them. So, we'll take back-to-back walk-offs, back-to-back 4-3 wins. And also, like I said with last week, I talked about being selectively aggressive. Bryce Terang, his walk-off home run came on the first pitch.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right. Then, switching series, we get Christian Yelich back against the Padres. Tyler Black sent back down to AAA. I did see right before we started the show that Christian Yelich isn't in the lineup tonight. He had some back soreness, which for him coming back from his first game, like, I'm not overly surprised or concerned that he's got back soreness. Mm-hmm. He hasn't played in like 6 weeks. So that's not a shocking thing that he's got some soreness for the first game that he's played in 6 weeks. But Kyle Harrison gave up a couple of 1-out walks to Tatis in the top of the first. William Contreras had to throw up the line, and Bryce Terang made another beautiful tag at second base to tag him on the arm. Fastball, his pitch mix looked good. The different variations of the fastball that he throws, he threw some very nice sweepers. He kept him down in the zone, which is great. He did get bit by a 2-out walk, which, after a wild pitch, allowed 2 runs to come in on a 2-2 fastball. They got too much of the plate. What I put is I love that the offense immediately picked him up with a 5-run with 5 runs on 6 hits in the 4th inning. The Brewers had 6 hard hits in that 4th inning alone, and 2 of them ended up being outs. So love that. I think I wrote Kyle Harrison and I meant to write Brandon Sproat. I don't know why I put KH. Yeah, Brandon Sproat gave up a 1-out walk to Tatis. I don't know why I wrote KH. I must have been looking at my notes from the different game. Or I got him confused, and it's not even like Kyle Harrison has a mustache, so I don't know how I got confused. Also, somebody said that Brandon Sproat looks like Borat, and now I'm having a really hard time unseeing that, so thanks for that.
I I mean, I see it, but I don't see it. But it's fine.
It's strictly the mustache. It's
Yeah,
100% the mustache.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so after the offense picked up Brandon Sproat, I love that Sproat immediately followed that with a 7-pitch top of the fifth and got the boys right back to the plate. Like, if you're the Padres, that's got to just suck.
Yeah.
Like, you're standing out on defense for like a half an hour. You guys finally get to come back up to bat, and then 7 pitches, and you're back out into the field.
Yeah, and pitching doesn't even take long anymore with the pitch clock.
Right. So, like, you barely have enough time to get a cup of water and a handful of sunflower seeds, and like, all right, guys, back on defense. Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Now, you and I talked about this a little bit. That even though he gave up, I think it was a home run and then a single.
Yep.
In the 6th inning, yes, it was a one-out solo home run and then a single after that, and then Shane Drowan came in. You and I talked about it. We kind of agreed that we both put it in our notes that we liked that Pat Murphy gave Brandon Sproat a little bit of leash.
Yep.
After the 5th inning. For him to go so quickly through the 5th inning is probably a part of it. Yep. But just the way that Brandon Sproat, after his first appearance when he wasn't even throwing to William Contreras, which is just another thing that should be mentioned, he's looked pretty damn good since then. I mean, he's had one kind of questionable outing, but other than that, he's looked really good.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a situation where I like that Pat Murphy's giving him some leash. He gave up the 2 hits, and his velocity was down a little bit. So for me, looking at him making his next start, my goal for him is going to be 5 innings of like 3 runs or less, and anything more that he gives you than that is gravy. So this game, he pitched 5 1/3, had the 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, did have the 3 earned runs, but he had 15 swing and misses.
Yeah.
That was 37% of the swings that the Padres took at Brandon Sproat pitches were swings and misses.
That's pretty damn
Love
good.
that. Got 3 strikeouts on his fastball. He only threw 11 of them total. So that's good pitch mix. Got 2 strikeouts on sweepers. He only threw 7 total. 2 of them ended up being strikeouts, and like Jake kind of teased a little bit before, he got his first career win. So love that for Brandon Sproat, even though I called him Kyle Harrison to begin my notes. Other than that, Trevor McGill pitched after Shane Drowan and Chad Patrick. Chad Patrick only took 7 pitches to get through the 7th inning because he's just a dog when he comes out of the pen. But Jake and I were talking about Drowan and Patrick, and I'm like, they had an off day on Monday. They have an off day Friday. So then I think they're off on Friday. Know that.
This Friday? No, they play Friday. They play Twins this weekend.
Yeah, you're right. There's another day that they had off. Oh, I'm thinking of sheesh. Last Thursday. They had Thursday and Monday off.
Yeah.
I knew they had 2 off days in the last week. I don't know why I was thinking they had 2 off days this week. 2 off days in the last week, plus they had the postponed game. So I'm like, they've had all these off days. Like they're going to use the bullpen just to get them some work with having off on Monday. So we saw Shane Drowan, Chad Patrick, Trevor McGill, and then Abner Uribe for the 9th. Trevor McGill allowed a hit and a 2-base wild pitch just because William Contreras didn't know where the ball was. And then a fly ball that I think Garrett Mitchell will catch probably 90% of the time. A lot of the time, Garrett Mitchell is going to catch the ball that kind of just bounced off his glove. The runner could have scored anyways. Yes, I understand, unless the wild pitch didn't happen. But Trevor McGill, I do think he threw good pitches. He threw 18 pitches. He got 11 swings. His curveball was located well. He only threw 5 of them, which makes his fastball play faster. All 3 of the strikeouts he had came via the fastball. So there's that. Trevor McGill, he gave up a run, but I don't see anything that was like, oh, my God, he can't locate. Like, it was fine. Then you get to Abner Uribe, who absolutely had the gas. He had all 5 of the highest velocities of the game. He hit 102.8, and he rebounded well without his best command to still finish the game with only allowing a 1-out walk. Like, yes, the tying run was in the on-deck circle, but or in the batter's box, but never a point where I'm like, oh, my God, like, what are we going to do? So not a bad game, but what did you take away from the Padres game last night?
Yeah, so Brandon Sproat, like you said, very, very solid night. This is part of the growth of Brandon Sproat. So it's a weird spot for fans to be in. I didn't write this down, but I wrote to talk about this. It's a very weird spot for the Brewers fans to be in because we're in a situation where our team is good enough and young enough to contend. I mean, we were right there last year, made it to the championship series. Obviously, the Dodgers are still the Dodgers; they're insanely good. But we're also still the Milwaukee Brewers, so we still have to have player development in mind. So every couple of days, we have a guy like a Brandon Sprout on. We have to focus still on player development while trying to win games. So it's a weird dynamic to kind of be in. You could take that same approach with a Kyle Harrison and Henderson, honestly, when he's on the mound.
I would throw Shane Drowan into that mix. I mean, I would throw Garrett Mitchell into that mix.
Yeah,
and South Free a little bit, like he's a little bit more developed, but I mean, there's a
some
lot of young guys on the roster.
About Garrett Mitchell that need to fucking calm down is what I'm going to say. Okay. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but yeah, we need to calm the hell down with that. Let's just let the guy play healthy baseball and let him go through the ups and downs of the MLB season before we start calling for him to get fucking demoted for. Yeah. Anyways, that shit was annoying the hell out of me. I was seeing comments on that left and right, but whatever. Brandon Sprout, very happy for him getting his first win and his beer shower. He loved the Miller Lite beer shower, so hell yeah, dude. The way that you explained it is giving him extra leash. I wrote down giving some extra run. He did give up that one run, like you said. The Brewers now, after last night, have 23 hits with the bases loaded, which leads all Major League Baseball. So that's another stat that they lead as a team. They don't have the most power, which is what everybody wants to fixate on. But they did get power from a very unfamiliar source last night. The offense was good to start this game. Everybody in this game got a hit except for Yelly, but his first game back, so after about a month. So I'm not really going to just get on top of the guy.
He had a pretty good rocket to left center gap that I thought was going to get in the gap for a double. So
yeah,
still had the ball hard.
11 hits for the Crew, who scored in the third off a Joey-O homer. After I was just talking shit, I shared the lineup and I said, "Give me a shortstop and a power."
Yeah, right.
And I'm arguing with a guy that we know from our hometown, and he messages me and he goes, "Haha, we should talk more shit about Joey-O." And I'm like, "Shit, I'll talk shit about Joey-O every day if the guy hits a home run."
Right.
So that I wrote down that I had to feel so good for him, man. Honestly. Everybody always talking about him getting demoted and releasing him and trading him and doing this and doing that. And Murph talked about it after the game, said that it kind of felt like a walk-off with how excited everybody was for him. So, that there's just straight up love in that locker room, honestly.
Dude, he was this close to hitting a grand slam in the same game. And I was like, no, there's no way.
Dude, I stood up. I said, no. And I was like, oh, he's lucky because I was going to scream. And pissed everybody in my house off.
And Bill said it on the replay that he got under it a little bit. I'm like, he was barely under it. Like he was this close to hitting a fucking.
That would have been. You want to talk about vibes?
Oh shit!
I wrote. Then Sprout gave up 2. Only bad inning in this one, in my opinion. Gave up a single, got a couple outs, then had some command issues. A walk and a wild pitch, allowed a single, score 2. The Brewers would pick up the young starter by having everybody get in at bat in the bottom of the inning and score 5 goddamn runs. They were literally the cartoon, like you've explained many times on this show. They were literally the Looney Tunes cartoon. Doop, 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 doop. Yelly was 2 of the 3 outs in the inning, only 3 hits the rest of the game. But I felt like the team was kind of on cruise control, to be honest with you. It did kind of feel like they were on cruise control after they took the lead and had the big inning.
After the big inning, they had a 1-out single in the 5th, a 1-out single in the 6th, a 2-out double in the 7th, and they went 1-2-3 in the 8th. So I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I had that written down. Yes, because that's why I wrote down they were on cruise control, dude. I felt like it. I had some thoughts on Jordan McGill, but you covered it pretty well, so I don't want to sound too redundant. Abner Uribe got a strikeout. McGill had 3, like you said, getting the Brewers to 13 K. So all games that we covered this week, the 4 games that we covered, they had double-digit strikeouts in every single game. So let's keep that trend going. Let's keep hitting with runners in scoring position. Let's keep loading the bases because we hit with bases loaded. It's hard to – you're a team that plays with contact and speed. Pretty much a nightmare scenario having the bases loaded. Let's be honest.
Not to mention the way that they've been using the opposite field lately.
Yeah. And – I forgot to say this, so thank God I just went on that little tangent. I felt really smart coming up with this. going back to the Yankees series, everybody talks about how the Yankees are good, and I wanted to compare them to an NBA team that everybody feels like is always good, and that's the Celtics. And the thing about both those teams, what they have in common outside of being in annoying cities, is they both are way too reliant on the long ball. The Celtics with the three-pointer, the Yankees with the home run. So a team like the Brewers could really be an Achilles heel to a team like the Yankees because of how they play. So that might be how you lead up to a sweep, is playing good defense and playing baseball the right way. Now, in a second here, after we talk about Biloxi Shuckers, we're going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. And man, oh man, am I hoping for a identity change from Taylor Jenkins.
Oh, yeah. So just for next week, we're going to have the 2 more games against San Diego. They play tonight and tomorrow. Then we're going to have 3 from the Twins on the road in Minnesota over the weekend. And then Monday and Tuesday, we'll have the first 2 games of the Brewers at the Cubs series. So we'll have 7 Brewer games next week. Next week will also be our single A minor league report. So next week we'll be covering the Timber Rattlers. And then the following week after that, we'll discuss the Wilson Warbirds and the rookie league Brewers. So some of the super young guys that have been drafted recently. But we're going to jump into the Biloxi Shuckers. Now, Jake is going to cover the pitchers this week. Last week, Jake covered the hitters for AAA Nashville. So this is kind of what we're doing with the minor leagues. Every week, we're going to cover the level of the minors just to kind of keep the people who watch our show, just kind of keep you updated without having to go and scour the stats yourself or look up some of the, the top 30 prospects list. We're just trying to save you guys some of that time and then add some of our insight in on top of it on guys that we're going to keep an eye on next month when we do this update again. And then Jake's going to cover the hitters and I'm going to cover the pitchers for Biloxi. So Jake, should we start with pitchers or should we start with hitters at Biloxi?
I feel like you're going to have more to say, so let me just rip the Band-Aid off with the pitching real quick.
All right.
Well, I'm not going to name every pitcher, but I'm just letting you guys know I wrote down every single pitcher on the roster. I wrote down every single one. I wrote down their number, their height, their weight, if they're on the 40-man, wrote everything down. Talk about the 2 guys that are in the top 30 prospects. I wanted to talk about those guys specifically because those are guys who are going to probably be fast-tracked to the league since they're already getting a little bit more attention.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Tyson Harden. He wears number 26 for Biloxi. He was drafted in 2024, round 12, number 365. If he's a starting pitcher, and if this is a guy that can go length, he should have the name all day just because he was drafted 365. Just saying, makes a lot of sense. In 2026, he has 7 games. He's 0 for 3. 0-3, not 0 for 3. It's not basketball yet. He has a 7.67 ERA, 29.1 innings pitched, 43 strikeouts, and a 177 WHIP. He's having some command issues, and he had 2 games where he got beat up pretty bad, so that's why the ERA looks a little inflated. Over his career, 30 games, 7-8 record, 3.91 ERA, 129 inning pitch, 141 strikeouts, and a 133 WHIP. So if you can get that whip down towards the 111 to 105 area, now you start talking about maybe giving him a promotion up to AAA. But until he gets some command issues, that he's been having some command issues from what I was reading. I read a couple of articles on each guy. He's going to be down in Biloxi for a little bit. The second guy is Bishop Letson. He's number 31, 6'4", 170 pounds. He was a 2023 draft pick, round 11, 332. At 26, he has 7 games. He also has an 0-3 record with a 6.75 ERA, 22 and 2/3 innings pitched, 22 strikeouts, so a strikeout an inning, and a 1.68 WHIP. He had a game where he really got beat up. And his career, he has 34 games, 3-9 record. Record for pitchers is – I'm not going to say it's exactly the same as a quarterback, but it's in the same realm of possibilities, to be honest.
It should have it's worth mentioning, but quarterback should not be a stat for wins. No. Pitchers, I understand, it's still you still rely on hitters, but pitchers have more control over a game because they control half of the game, whereas quarterbacks are still one of 11 guys on offense.
Yeah, you get some bad defensive plays and stuff like that every once in a while for a pitcher too, so that kind of screws you. But
I think it's worth mentioning in baseball, but it doesn't carry a ton of weight for me. Yeah. Same with the team record. I did not write the Shuckers team record down, even though I know what it is. I really don't care about the record. I don't.
Yeah. So he has a 3.53 ERA in his career, 127 in the third inning pitch, 128 strikeouts, and a 1.19 whip. So the 1.19 whip shows that this is a guy that has potential. Like I said, you get down to that 111 to 105 range. Now you start talking about getting a promotion. So those two guys are both starters. So they were recently drafted. I think that Brewers fans, especially after seeing Jackson Churio and seeing a guy like Jesus Mate and Luis Lara and all those kind of people, they've been hearing about those names for the last couple of years. So I think that everybody just goes up in the first 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
It's like, relax. Not everybody does that, and that's why they call these guys generational.
Right.
You're not supposed to get back-to-back, by the way.
Yeah. Being in the majors at 20 is not normal.
Just like the
Connor Griffin being in the majors at 19 is not normal.
Yeah, that's not normal. So, I want people to really understand that, you're not supposed to get back-to-back, okay?
Yeah, it's not everybody's coming up at 20 or 21. Jackson Churio is special.
He is, and he is, man. This guy has some of the quickest hands in MLB, man. And if you can't tell that by watching him, you need to really study baseball.
All right. Couple things that I want to throw out there as far as the pitchers go before we move on. If you have Twitter, follow Javik Blake. He is the AA media man for the Shuckers. I feel like I see Javik Blake tweet about Jaron DeBerry every single day. So he is another pitcher to keep an eye on for the Shuckers because I think he had season high, I want to say 7 strikeouts last night.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give a disclaimer right after I tell you guys that triple or AA is known for being a pitcher's league. It's known for being a level of baseball where it's better for the pitchers than it is for the hitters, which is one of the reasons why people bring up Cooper Pratt's AA stats, and it's AA is a pitcher's league. So the fact that he was over 100 for weighted runs created, that's good. Because AA is traditionally hard for hitters. Now, Jake just gave a couple guys who are in the Brewers' top 30 prospects and have some pretty rough ERA-looking numbers. Another thing to know about the Shuckers is they have the youngest pitching staff in the Southern League of AA. So that's to me, that stuff is worth knowing. Now, switching to the hitter side of things, obviously the first thing that everybody wants to know is what's going on with Jesus Mate. He is today going to graduate to the number 1 prospect in baseball. He is the Brewers' number 1 prospect. He's slashing .267, .351 on base with a .415 slug for a .766 OPS. He's got 3 home runs. He has 11 extra base hits total. He has 3 triples and 5 doubles to go with his homers. Has 19 runs batted in, 25 strikeouts, 18 walks, 14 stolen bases, all at 19. 19 years old. And he's more than holding his own 2 levels away from the bigs. And then my guy, I threw this guy out as a farm system guy to watch for the Brewers, and it's Blake Burke. He is the Brewers' number 17 prospect. He was the Brewers' 34th pick in 2024. He is currently batting .242 with a .333 on base, slugging .568. I got some exciting stuff to say about Blake Burke. For a .901 OPS. He's got 20 extra base hits. He's got 11 homers, 8 doubles, and a triple. He's got 12 stolen bases also.
He homered on Mother's Day, too.
Yeah, he did. He's got – this is where it's a little bit he's got 39 strikeouts and only 16 walks. So he's got to get the strikeouts down if he wants to get promoted. That's really the only blemish on his numbers. For him, he was the fastest to 10 home runs, 10 stolen bases in Shuckers history. He is one of only 3 minor leaguers, not AA players, one of only 3 minor leaguers to be at 10-10 so far.
Wow.
So Blake Burke is absolutely a guy to start familiarizing yourself with. Everybody's super excited about Andrew Fisher, and rightfully so. And we're excited that we have, Bowers and Vaughn, but keep a close eye on Blake Burke. He's going to rise very quickly, in my opinion, in the Brewers prospect rankings. I did see a couple people say that the Brewers' minor league outfield depth isn't great outside of Luis Lara, and I just want to give a couple of guys that I think are kind of proving that to be not necessarily false, but maybe just like a little bit. I don't want to use ignorant because that's kind of a strong word, but just like maybe a little bit untrue. Damon Keith is a 25-year-old outfielder in Double-A. Yes, I understand that's a little bit old for Double-A, but he's batting .333 with a .423 on base percentage, a .643 slug for a 1,066 OPS. Easily a guy that could be called up to Triple-A to play outfield.
Yeah.
The other thing, he does have 27 strikeouts and only 9 walks, so he's another guy that's got to get the strikeouts down. But he's got 21 RBI. He's got 5 home runs. He has the top 2 exit velocities on the team at 115 and 114.
Damn.
So Damon Keith is maybe a guy to keep an eye on. Then outfield, another one to keep an eye on is Dason Brown. He's a 24-year-old outfielder. He was a third-round pick by Toronto in 2019. He's batting .253 with a .422 on base percentage, .316 slug for a .738 OPS, which isn't crazy, but 25 strikeouts, 20 walks, 9 stolen bases, kind of a Greg Jones type, if you will. So there's some guys down there that, you know, could move up to AAA that could, you know, kind of not necessarily refill the ranks, but there's some outfielders down there. A couple other good prospects to know and keep an eye on. One being Dylan O'Ray, who was injured in 2025 but played really well for the Timberwolves in 2024. He's 22 years old. He plays a lot of shortstop, a lot of second base. He was a third-round pick in 2022. He's currently batting .300 with a .426 on base, .383 slug for an .809 OPS, 27 strikeouts, 24 walks, so he's almost even there. He got 17 stolen bases and 7 extra base hits. So Dylan O'Ray, a guy to keep an eye on. Mike Bove, another guy to keep an eye on. He's a 24-year-old third baseman. I feel like he's one of the guys that gets kind of lost in the shuffle of, you know, Brock Wilken being like the next guy up at third base and Andrew Fisher, the guy who's going to rise quickly at third base. Mike Bove is currently batting .234. He's got a .356 on base and a .360 slug for a .716 OPS. Nothing crazy. 30 strikeouts, 20 walks, 7 stolen bases, 19 RBI, 3 home runs. There's guys down there that have good numbers. Mm-hmm. And Dylan O'Ray also playing good defense. Blake Burke playing good defense at first base. Darian Miller as a catcher is one guy that I think is going to kind of follow Cuero. If Cuero comes up, Darian Miller, in my mind, is the guy that's going to go to AAA to be their catcher. He's 25 years old, which, again, is a little bit old for catchers, but he's kind of just the next guy up after Cuero. He was a 9th-round pick in 2019. This is actually his 3rd year in Double-A, but he's slashing .279 with a .494 on base percentage, which is crazy, and a .541 slug. He has a 1,035 OPS.
Damn.
But again, he's another guy with high strikeouts, so got to get that down. Blake Burke leads the team in home runs by more than double. He's got 11. The next highest one is Damon Keith with 5, and he leads the team in RBI. Made and O'Ray are currently tied for the team lead in hits. And then stolen bases. This is crazy with the Shuckers. And again, follow Javik Blake because he's got awesome stats. He's got tons of media stuff. He's fantastic when it comes to media. Dylan O'Ray has 17 stolen bases. Jesus Mate has 14. Blake Burke has 12. And he's a beefy guy. Like, he's not Prince Fielder beefy, but he's got some beef. Like, he's a home run corner infielder power hitter.
Yeah.
And he's a good defender, and he's got 12 stolen bases. Like, seriously, keep a close eye on Blake Burke, please. Like, he's going to be good. The Shuckers are on pace currently for 349 stolen bases, which would be a new Double-A record. The all-minor league record is 363 by the High A Aberdeen Ironbirds, who are the High A affiliate for the Baltimore Orioles in 2024. So they're currently on pace to be 14 stolen bases away from the minor league record in stolen bases.
Interesting.
So I'm going to, when a month from now, when we're having this conversation again, I'm going to tell Jake to, hey, look at stolen bases and look what the pace is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that team is stealing bases.
All
right. So that's the Double-A rundown. Some guys to keep an eye on. Next week, we're going to have the Single A rundown. So we're going to be talking about like guys like Andrew Fisher and Braylon Payne. Marco Dingus. Like, there's going to be some guys to talk about there. So, single A is going to be next week. Jake's going to cover the hitters. I'm going to cover the pitchers. And then the following week, we're going to have all the low A and the rookie ball guys.
I'm calling them the Utter
We're
Tuggers
actually
next
going to
week.
switch. What's that?
I'm calling them the Utter Tuggers next week, just so you know.
Calling them the Utter Tuggers? All right.
Yeah.
I understand it. I respect it. We're going to switch to the Bucks, and we're going to have some conversations. So, obviously, the Bucks hired Taylor Jenkins. That press conference happened last Wednesday. He was introduced. So, like, you can watch the press conference and, take what you will from that. Jake and I wanted to take some time to be able to do some research on Taylor Jenkins, some of the traits that he had as a head coach in Memphis when he was there after he left the Bucks in 2019 after a year under Coach Bud. So, Jake, just let me know what you are thinking just about Taylor Jenkins, some of the things about him, and then let's talk about some coaching traits with Taylor Jenkins.
All right, so I wrote like an essay on Taylor Jenkins, so I'm just going to read that. So I wrote, to me, this signing is the most important move since trading for Drew Holiday. Yes, I know they traded for Damian Lillard. I will have separate thoughts on that later. I'm just going to put that in there right now. The last couple of seasons, the Bucks have felt old, slow, and pretty disconnected at times, to be completely honest with you. Like, we call ourselves optimistic and realistic. This is my realistic side coming out right now. They felt old, slow, and disconnected. There was times where I'm watching the Bucks and I'm just like, what in the fucking hell are we doing right now, dude? So getting a guy like Jenkins, who built one of the toughest young teams in the league during his time in Memphis, where he also became their winningest coach ever in just 6 seasons. He was 250 and 214. Shows to me, this shows that this move can be successful because of the young roster that he built. Now, obviously, having a number 2 overall pick and getting a guy like John Morant helps that, but you have a guy like 34 on this roster. So, and he was here before. He was here with under Budenholzer when I went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019. So when we were talking towards the end of the season, we were kind of clip noting our notes for the Bucks. I talked about a few things that I wanted in a coach. I said I wanted a younger guy, and I needed a guy that was high energy. And those are 2 things that Taylor Jenkins does. He's a young guy. He's only 41 years old. It's crazy that he's the same exact age as LeBron James, who just got knocked out of the fucking playoffs. That's crazy. He's a high energy guy. He's kind of, to me, he's got kind of that Pat Murphy feel where he's got a little bit of old school in him, where old school coaches were in your face. They're like this. They're in your face, but you know it's coming from a place of love. And that's what we're missing from coaching the last couple of years in Milwaukee. So this move is elite. The biggest question all summer will be if 34 stays. Do not listen to Shams. Do not listen to Shams. Yep. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want any news on what the hell Giannis is thinking, 1, take it from the fucking man himself. And 2, take it from the fucking Milwaukee Bucks. Those are going to be the 2 most reliable sources when talking about Giannis. Because Shams, that guy is literally hired to just – I'm not trying to get you to go on a tangent, but I'm just letting the people know. He was hired to try to get Giannis out of Milwaukee. I feel that way right now.
I've said it a couple different ways. One of the things that I've said is I feel like Shams has a quota of a certain amount of times a month that he has to say Giannis' name. And then I tweeted this the other day when he said, Milwaukee's open for business on trading Giannis. I'm like, Shams is literally at his computer typing into ChatGPT, how can I say the same thing with different words?
Yeah, right. So whatever way you want to think about it, just listen to Giannis or listen to the Bucks. So the biggest question, like I said, will be if 34 stays. And I have some things that I know that Taylor and John are going to be flipping on the film and talking about, and it's the 2021-2022 Grizzlies. So they were elite on both ends. Offensive rating, 114.6. That's top 6 in the NBA. Defensive rating, 108.9. Also top 6 in the NBA. They had 56 wins, and they were the 2 seed in the West that year. Oh, they also led the NBA in rebounding, offensive rebounding, steals, blocks, points in the paint, second chance points, and fast break points. Now, if I was to tell you to go back and watch how Tyler and I covered these games, you tell me the top 7 things that we fucking bitched about.
You're just reading off that list. I'm sitting here clapping. I'm like, that's literally everything the Bucks sucked at.
Dude, it's literally everything, bro. So what does that tell you? Jenkins' style of ball, he likes a fast team, athletic, physical, and disruptive defensively, relentless on the glass. Those are all the things that we missed this last season. So this style, in my opinion, is exactly what Giannis will need to succeed further in Milwaukee, and it plays to all his strengths. But they need to get a wing that fits this style of play. Now, do I think that Kyle Kuzma I think Kuzma could fit in this role, but I would rather move on from Kyle Kuzma and flip him for somebody like a John Morant. John Morant was the energy of this Memphis offense. He was one of the best pick-and-roll players in the league for a few years before some silly off-court issues and some injuries took him off the last couple of years. So in 2021-2022, he had 11.4 pick-and-rolls per game, 0.92 points per possession. That's crazy on every pick-and-roll. That's pretty efficient. 42.1% of his scoring came off of pick-and-rolls in those seasons. He averaged 27.1 points per game, and he had a 33.6% usage rate. So in 22-23, they bumped up his pick and rolls. He had 14 pick and rolls. The points per possession stayed pretty much the same, so the efficiency was still high, 0.93. He had a field goal percentage of 43.5. You could just say 44. And he had an efficient field goal percentage of 46.2. He averaged 26 points per game that year, and his usage rate was pretty much the same. So I don't know if you want me to pause on how I want the players to be used so you can give your thoughts on Taylor Jenkins, and then I'll do that after, but the floor is yours.
Let's pause on the usage because I want to talk first about Taylor Jenkins. Like you mentioned the 2021-2022 Grizzlies that had Ja, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, Kyle Anderson, Tyus Jones, Brandon Clark, rest in peace, because it was really sad. Jake and I were talking about this 2021-22 Grizzlies, and it's like, dude, Brandon Clark would fit in on this team too. Yeah. And he passed away yesterday, which was very sad. And they had DeAnthony Melton. After that season, Taylor Jenkins finished second in Coach of the Year when the Grizzlies won those 56 games, like Jake said. Taylor Jenkins, and Jake and I agreed on this as well, that he is the best coach when you didn't have a decision made on Giannis already.
Yes.
He is the number one guy to hire if you don't know what you're going to do with Giannis yet, whether you're going to trade him or keep him. And even if you did know that you were going to trade him or you knew that you were going to keep him, in either one of those forks in the road, Taylor Jenkins would still be in your top three in either of those scenarios. So I think that this was the best candidate for not having a decision and would have still been a top three candidate even if you had made one decision or the other. Mm-hmm. And Jake and I agreed on that. Mm-hmm. Taylor Jenkins inherited a 33-49 team in 2019. They had 2 rebuild seasons, and then they won 56 and 51 years. They were back-to-back 2 seeds in those 2 years. Ja got hurt in 2023, 2024, and then he was fired at 44-29 in the following season. Then they lost to the Warriors in the playoffs that year. Personally, and this came from me ending up reading a ton of stuff about Taylor Jenkins being fired, I think Memphis put too many cooks in the kitchen, and I think they kind of did Taylor Jenkins dirty.
Yeah.
They had an offensive assistant from Europe who was making 7 figures, which is a lot for an assistant coach. That's a lot for a strategy coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's like head coaching money for like your 6th assistant.
Yeah.
And then they also brought in a Spurs consultant to work on the offense. And by bringing those 2 guys in, they made Taylor Jenkins fire 5 of his assistants.
Damn.
Yeah. I think they did Taylor Jenkins pretty dirty. And then they have basically 3 guys working on the Grizzlies offense and then wonder why some of the guys weren't happy with their roles. So I think Taylor Jenkins got kind of a raw deal when he was let go from Memphis. It sounds like between the ownership of Haslam and Edens, John Horst, and then Taylor Jenkins himself, it sounds like they have a pretty cohesive plan for how they want to go with the team.
I'm sure that was something that he probably brought up
when
he was doing the interview process.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Horst and Haslam knew that as he was being interviewed. between the 2 interviews that they did with him. So I'm sure that those things were brought up. As far as coaching traits for Taylor Jenkins, the 3 things that really kind of stood out were defensive discipline, player development, and then culture building. Defensive discipline, the Grizzlies, they were very physical on ball without fouling, which is a big deal. That's another thing that we talked about this season, like the free throw disparity that the Bucks had. The opponent free throw rate for the Grizzlies in 22-23 was 12th. The Bucks were 21st last year in opponent free throw rate. And then the other things that the Grizzlies do, they're consistently in the passing and driving lanes. And Taylor Jenkins and that staff, they turned Jaren Jackson Jr. into an off-ball menace. The dude was a problem. Like, the Grizzlies grabbed Steven Adams, put him in the center, and then said, okay, Jaren Jackson Jr., just go block all of the shots.
That's going to be
Jaren Jackson Jr. Won a Defensive Player of the Year and was first-team All-NBA defense 2 years in a row.
That's going to be Giannis, bro.
That's going to be Giannis.
Yep. That's exactly. I wrote that down, too.
Yep. The Grizzlies were number 5 in opponent points in the paint in 22-23. Another thing that the Bucks struggled with last year.
Mm-hmm.
The Grizzlies, they ran regular double teams with good hustle rotations, something we absolutely want to see, especially with this roster getting younger. They run what's kind of called like a no-middle defense, where they kind of force everything to the baseline, not necessarily to the like open corner threes and stuff, but they want to keep guys, again, out of the paint. They want teams playing in that mid-range area so that guards and wings are forced into like mid-range and long floaters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the shots that you want to give up. Then with that, the guards and wings under Taylor Jenkins were also required to help with the rebounding, which, again, like that's another thing that the Bucks struggled with. The guys parachuting in from the weak side and slapping out offensive rebounds. I was ready to pull my hair out at times last year for a guard just come flying in and just slap the ball out towards half court and a guy be standing there with the other team's jersey to catch it. That's how you end up with opposing guards that finish games with 3 offensive rebounds, because the guy who taps it out doesn't get the rebound. The guy who secures it does.
Mm-hmm.
So then you look at a game, you're like, why did Peyton Pritchard have 3 offensive rebounds against us? Because all Jaylen Brown had to do was go up and swat the ball out towards half court with Peyton Pritchard standing there ready to catch it. So that was a good thing with the Grizzlies team that Taylor Jenkins coached. Player development. He showed up with young guys being trusted with large defensive roles in the playoffs, which is something very interesting. Guys like Zaire Williams and Xavier Tillman being trusted with large roles in the playoffs. So guys that I'm looking at for the Bucks, like we're going to talk about this in the usage changes, but Ousmane Dieng, whoever they end up picking at 10, like very, very interested to see what they do with those players, again, assuming that they keep that pick and they don't use it to flip or anything like that, but under the assumption that they're going to take the pick and we're going to cover it that way. Seeing what they do with the guys who come into the team and doing less of the drafting for potential because they're always picking in the mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and I put this in my notes, that is what the Heat and Celtics do. They pick guys who pretty much immediately fit into their rotations, like Baylor Shireman and Hugo Gonzalez and Pelle Larsson, who was a guy that I wanted the Bucks to take an interest in. Khalil Ware, who was picked in the middle of the first round, a guy that we were both super excited about. He didn't make it in the Bucks, but I mean, they picked guys and they're playing right away. It's not the Bogalub Markovic, and again, he was a second round pick, so like it's not the best example, but you're stashing a guy in Europe for a year. Or
sounds like he's coming over
to one of the youngest guys in the draft because he's super raw and athletic, and you're gonna sit him in the herd for 2 years and then see what you get out of him. Like the Grizzlies were drafting guys that they were going to use that year.
Yeah.
Like I said, Jaren Jackson Jr. became one of the best defenders in the NBA. You mentioned Ja Morant playing very well as a pick and roll threat. Desmond Bane became a player that fetched Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 4 first-round picks and a pick swap out of a 30th pick from the 2020 draft. They turned into 2 players, 4 first-round picks, and a pick swap.
Damn.
And then guys like Santi Aldama and Brandon Clark became really solid role players. Like Santi Aldama was a guy that I was interested in the Bucks in free agency last year. And he got a free agent deal with the Grizzlies to stay there. Culture building. Now, Jake is kind of on the bring Dylan Brooks in. Personally, I don't really want to do that. I think there's other guys that they could look at to do similar things, just without the kind of bad attitude. So Dylan Brooks wasn't quite a fit with Taylor Jenkins' culture. They dodged Draymond, who they were trying really hard to get. So good for them for not getting Draymond. Not that, it would have been bad, but the way that he carries himself is just not good.
Yeah.
But they ended up getting Marcus Smart, which I thought was a decent move. Marcus Smart ended up on the Lakers, but I'm not saying that the Bucks necessarily need to get Marcus Smart, but a guy like that, a guy who carries himself better, but is still a very strong defensive player. They were interested in Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith. I think all three of those guys, Smart, Smith, and Bridges, were all better for their culture while still giving you really good defenders.
Mm-hmm.
With the new offensive assistants that the Grizzlies had, they were number 1 in pace and scoring, number 2 in offensive rebounding rate, things that the Bucks need improvements on, like Jake said. So with Jenkins, maybe some pieces of that philosophy, but not that many cooks in the kitchen. I do think the Bucks have the guys to push the pace and get offensive rebounds. So looking at how the Bucks can use these traits with the players that they already have, we both said it right away that Giannis is the triple Jackson, the triple J, roaming everywhere as the roaming eraser. It makes perfect sense. You park Miles Turner as your center. He's your centerpiece. And then Giannis just gets to float around as the missile defense system and be like, nope, nope, nope. And he's going to average 3.5 blocks a game this season, and Turner's going to average 2.5.
And this is a guy who has a Defensive Player of the Year before being coached in that style of defense.
Yeah.
So first of all, his length, his athleticism, and his instincts are just off the charts.
And then you're going to add scheme to that.
He was made for this scheme, dude.
Yeah. Then watching the two really good Grizzlies teams that Jenkins had, them having guards defending gaps and driving lanes, to me, I look at it as much more of like X's and O's, not necessarily like a zone defense, but much more X's and O's type defense than you're guarding him, you're guarding him, you're guarding him, you're guarding him, and you're guarding him.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more like we are guarding them.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I have written down is having an expectation of fewer fouls and less free throw attempts for your opponent. Something that was extremely frustrating last season.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do offense or defense first?
Offense. Well, keep going. Okay. You're on fire, dude.
So, in my mind, offensively, the Bucks need clear, defined rotations, and we have plans for discussing transactions on another date. I do think Taurean Prince still fits into this team. I don't think Gary Trent Jr. Is going to be back. Kevin Porter Jr. kind of on the fence about, but we'll see what else they do as far as transactions go. On the offensive side of the ball, is there anything you want to say before I keep ripping all the stuff that I wrote down?
I actually love Kevin Porter Jr. Offensively in this offense. I think that he showed a lot of potential in the pick and roll. And I'm going off of the pick and roll numbers. I wrote down that I would like to see Kevin Porter Jr. and Giannis take over the pick and roll duties for this team. It would be very interested to see what Giannis would look like as a true point forward like he did a long time ago under Jason Kidd, and just spam Giannis in the pick and roll because you have to make a decision on him, right? And if you have a better offensive system, getting Giannis more shots when he gets downhill, that's just you're talking like this is what we need. And Kevin Porter Jr., I think, we were talking about Brandon Clark, and I was thinking the other day, and I was like, dude, Jericho Sims is one of the highest jumpers in the NBA. He could be our Brandon Clark. He could absolutely feast in a role where he's just running, spamming pick and rolls with Kevin Porter Jr., who is a guy that can get downhill. Now, he's not as quick as Ja Morant, but he is a little bit stronger, in my opinion.
And he's a little taller.
So, yeah, he's a little taller. So where he'll make his MO is using his strength getting to the hole where Morant, that guy's just a Ferrari. He just he freaking hits the clutch and he's just gone, dude. That guy's quickness is on another level.
Yep.
So I really like Kevin Porter Jr. in that role. I like I was really doing a lot of comparison to the prior Grizzlies teams. Now, Desmond Bane is a really, really good defender, and he's a guy who has really short arms, so it's weird that he's such a good shooter. Those guys with short arms are such good shooters. It's weird. But a guy like Ryan Rollins, who was better, and we talked about it so much, he was so much better off catching shoots on three-pointers.
Yep.
He could be a Desmond Bain type guy.
Sure.
You just tell him, like, hey, we're going to need you to play defense. We're going to need you to hit your open shots on some catch and shoot situations. AJ Green, we talked a lot about him and his growth on defense. I think that he's a guy that could take another step defensively while also being a sniper on offense. He's going to be a really, really important cog to the pick and roll working out because he's going to be the guy in the strong side corner.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that.
Yep.
Guy like Cormac Ryan, he'll be interesting. I wrote down that I think with this signing, I think Taurean Prince is pretty much 100% coming back.
Yep.
He is the perfect 3-and-D wing to fit into this philosophy.
Yep.
And I wrote down a lot of people counting out Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Guy was a top 10 pick. This guy is a very talented player. And obviously you saw how good he was for those Pacers teams when he was asked to take different roles under a good coach. Rick Carlisle is a good coach. Don't get it twisted.
Oh, he absolutely is.
I do not like the Pacers, but Rick Carlisle has earned my respect.
Yep.
You don't coach that long without being that good. I wrote down that I think comeback player of the year could be in Milwaukee this year, and it could be a guy like Miles Turner.
I'm not going to lie to you. I think I wrote more about Miles Turner in my notes for the usage changes than I did about Giannis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Offensively, and I actually sent Jake a video of it. The Grizzlies ran this like staircase screen. It wasn't like a straight double screen where, they screen a guy and then they have another guy standing right behind him. It's like they had a guy screening and then like at the top of the 3-point line, and then the next screen was set like by the elbow. And that second screener would basically like make contact so that his guy would kind of start to jump up to head the screen, and then he would just take off for the opposite 3-point wing. And they did with Desmond Bain all the time. So they'd have a big man set a screen for John Morant, and they'd have Desmond Bain set a screen for the big man, so the Desmond Bain's guy would go and help for the double screen. Desmond Bain takes off to the opposite corner and ends up with open threes all the time.
Screen to screener.
And, dude, just spam that shit with AJ Green.
Dude.
I wrote in my notes, AJ Green is going to stress opposing defenses with Taylor Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
So creating that hesitation with that screen, the screener action, it leaves defenders way behind. And then you're going to have a guy who's running at AJ Green trying to prevent a 3-pointer. He's going to pump fake, take one dribble to his left, splash a wide open 3. It's going to happen 100 times this season.
And it's going to be so tough because the guy who's going to be setting the screen is either going to be Miles Turner, a guy who can finish down low or pop, or a guy like Giannis, who is statistically one of the greatest finishers in NBA history.
Yeah.
So pick your fucking poison, dude.
And then the other thing is if Giannis picks and pops, it's not that he's a threat to shoot. It's either that he's guarding or being guarded by a guy who's a similar size, but is now a step behind because he's helping the screen, or he's going to be guarded by a guard.
Either way.
Both of those things are bad for your defense.
Either way, I'm trusting 34. I'm going to be honest with you.
Or you're letting Miles Turner or AJ Green shoot wide open.
Exactly. Miles Turner is going to be filthy this year. Dude.
This is fun. This is already fun. The Bucks, they will play at a faster pace. They want to get to a good shot before the defense is set, which will create less late shot clock isolation and fewer step back jumpers. One of my main things was I don't like some of the step backs that Ryan Rollins takes. It's different when he's doing it in rhythm, but I don't want him doing it 6 times a game. My biggest thing with Taylor Jenkins, and I used to pray for times like this. Again, like Jake said, if you go back and watch all of our recaps from this season, quite possibly the biggest thing that I talked about with the offense was off-ball movement. The Bucks will have more off-ball movement. All 5 players moving at the same time. Not 2, not 3, 5. 5 guys moving at the same time. This will reduce some ball dominance, which I think can actually spread out the playmaking a little bit, take a little bit of pressure off of Giannis as far as playmaking goes. I think it'll also help Ryan Rollins not be under so much pressure to handle the ball, which is a good thing. It'll still allow guys like Ousmane Dieng and AJ Green to do some playmaking a little bit, just to flash his playmaking, and it'll make the offense less predictable. Now, the thing that I hate that I have to give credit to this, but the Knicks are really good at this. They just wiped the 76ers completely off the board in the playoffs because the 76ers could not handle how much moving the Knicks were doing offensively. What that does is it creates more action away from the basket, which gives Giannis more space to operate. You're talking about if you have 3 guys moving, and one of the things you're trying to do is get AJ Green open from three-point line, and then you go and run a pick and roll, and Giannis and Kevin Porter Jr. have half the court to operate, and there's nobody standing in the paint. Cool. Giannis is going to catch 1,000 lobs this season. With that, I think the Bucks will have more offensive structure, less playing 4-out, Giannis go attack offense. I think that Taylor Jenkins can also use Giannis off the ball, which takes a lot of attention. And then if he gets lost, again, enjoy all the lobs that he's going to throw down this season.
Yeah, seriously.
If there's 5 guys moving around and one of them's Giannis and anybody gets lost on a rotation, Giannis is just going to roll to the basket and dunk on whoever is unfortunate enough to rotate late.
Yeah. And you know, something that we've talked about since we're talking about offense, I'm going to bring it up. Something that we've talked about is flipping that 10 pick and seeing if you can find a way to get Ja Morant out of Memphis. Brother, you want to talk about a pick and roll.
I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking as far as transactions go. If Memphis wants Ryan Rollins in the deal, Ryan Rollins is not untouchable.
For Ja Morant, 100%.
Yeah.
You want to talk about getting faster, more athletic, and having a young guy to build around? You did all 3 things in one move.
Yeah. So not opposed to that at all. Honestly, it's probably gonna end up being in our transaction show. Just spoiler alert.
Probably 100% will be.
Then other things, like I said, the ball movement, off the ball movement, and then the ball itself, ball movement, that's probably the biggest thing that I hyped on.
Yep.
But ball movement should also increase, which is when the Bucks are at their best. When we bring up that they had 32 assists on 45 made field goals, like those are the games where the Bucks were scoring in the 120s and 130s.
Yep.
Last thing, and I texted you this morning, and I'm like, I have to give the Knicks credit twice. Ugh. I want the Bucks to use Miles Turner the way that the Knicks use Karl Anthony Towns, which is essentially he catches the ball at the top of the key, and then he is the hub of their offense. And again, to use the Knicks as the example, you have the other 4 guys moving around. They're using 3 guys on one side to set screens. They have a guy in the corner, so they basically have a shooter. They have 3 other guys moving around, and then you also have Karl Anthony Towns, he's a better ball handler than Miles Turner. He's just a better all-around player, I would say. It's not crazy to say that. But Miles Turner can do the things that Karl Anthony Towns can do offensively. Like he can shoot, he can drive to the basket, and I think he's a decent passer. Karl Anthony Towns is probably a better passer. But I think you can use Miles Turner in that role, and I more than trust him with 3 off-ball movers to then be able to put the ball on the floor, give a dribble handoff, or drive to the basket on the weak side and kick out to the open corner man. Perfectly fine trusting Miles Turner to do that. Yeah. And that's where I think, like Jake said, that Miles Turner could be a comeback player of the year situation because he could average, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. That's really, I believe, is something that the Bucks can do offensively with Miles Turner, is kind of use him as the hub in the middle of the court. Because then again, if you have 3 guys that would be the strong side, and one of them dives towards the basket, and the opposing big man has to sink to not allow a layup, okay, cool. Miles Turner shooting 3s open.
Or even a mid-range. I'd take a wide-open mid-range with his shooting touch.
Yeah. So, you're putting Miles Turner in advantageous situations.
Mm-hmm.
Flipping to defense, I'm going to continue talking about Miles Turner because in all caps, I wrote, do not treat Miles Turner like Brook Lopez. Miles Turner is so much more of a defensive weapon with the Bucks getting so much younger by making that move. You don't have to use Miles Turner like an average drop defensive center. You don't have to use him the way that you would use a guy like Steven Adams or Brook Lopez. Not saying that Steven Adams is an average defender, but he's a center. He's a true center. Yes. You don't have to use Miles Turner the way that you would use Isaiah Hartenstein or, even guys like Walker Kessler or Donovan Clingan. You don't have to use Miles Turner that way. Miles Turner can be up closer to the ball handler without fear of him getting around Turner and getting an open layup, because Turner, A, is athletic enough to recover, and B, can more than make up for a step behind a smaller offensive player.
Because of his length.
Yes. So I'm not worried about that at all. Miles Turner as the guy roaming the paint, being switchable, Giannis playing the roaming help side rim protector role where Jaren Jackson Jr. won that Defensive Player of the Year. And I think Taurean Prince is a guy that can play a physical defensive role, plus Ryan Rollins if you keep him. That to me is a very good foundation for a much improved defense from what we saw last season. Now, I say all that because you can still use Miles Turner as a drop defender, but you don't have to drop him from the three-point line into the paint. He can step up closer to the ball handler, like I said. He can negate a lot of speed and a step behind the defenders, driving towards the basket with his athleticism and his rim protection, just savvy from being in the league for 11 years. Like, I trust Miles Turner in that situation to be able to block a shot on a Jalen Brunson trying to get around him. That Miles Turner doesn't have to be sinking and let guys just shoot floaters in his face all day like we saw with the last couple of years of Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
Now, with that, the Grizzlies used a big athletic defender like Zaire Williams on the ball often. I do think a guy like Ousmane Dieng is a guy that could play a role like that. And we saw Ryan Rollins do it as well, which is one thing that Doc Rivers deserves some credit for, using Ryan Rollins as that point of attack defender full court. Like that's good stuff. That is a good thing that Doc Rivers did. But with the defense, like I said earlier, with Taylor Jenkins coaching traits, is like you want to live with those mid-range and you want to live with those longer floaters. Like if guys want to take floaters from the free throw line, sure. What you don't want is guys being on the block and just getting like a nice easy floater, and the only thing they have to do is get it up high enough that Miles Turner doesn't block it.
Yep.
Like, you want guys shooting contested shots from anywhere. You want guys shooting mid-range, not three-pointers. And you want to keep teams out of the paint.
Yep.
So defensively, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that with any of the usage, but I mean, I'm very excited.
Ball pressure, ball pressure, ball pressure. Hold on. Ball pressure, ball pressure, ball pressure, ball pressure, ball pressure. Holy shit. Can we put some goddamn pressure on the ball, dude? How many times did we watch guys after the Bucks would have a turnover or take a terrible shot, they would just dribble the ball down the court all nonchalant, get into their fucking offense, and then they make a goddamn three-pointer, and I'm just like, hello? Do I care more than you? What the hell is going on, dude? Let's start pressuring the ball. You talked about how they played passing lanes. And I wrote, with the ball pressure, it'll be super important for guys like Sims, Turner, and Giannis to protect the rim and then run the floor. Since in 2021, 2022, you don't just lead the NBA in fast break points for no goddamn reason. You get the ball and you go. Yeah. I like that. You have one of the greatest fast break options of all time. All time. All freaking time, dude. Giannis. Yep. Why are we not spamming that? I understand that he was pretty much the most athletic freak on this team. He's going to be the most athletic freak until his athleticism really starts to decline in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
But we should be spamming this, getting Turner easy shots, getting Sims more easy shots, getting the guards downhill so they feel comfortable, getting them some easier shots. Ball pressure. That's literally the main point I wanted to talk about on defense. I love pressuring the ball. Look at all the good teams right now.
Yeah.
They all have a guy, and look at the Bucks when they won the title. Who was the guy that was on the ball? Drew Holiday, which is why I said this move was the biggest since Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was on the ball, making it just makes everything harder. It makes it harder to pass, makes it harder for it, like, disrupts your flow. It's just like when the Packers are playing a bunch of zone, and then they finally mix it up with man defense. Yeah, you mess with the timing a little bit, things start to get a little funky in their head. I need ball pressure. That makes it harder to get to the paint.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing on defense is literally just pressuring the ball, playing with physicality, and rebounding the ball, run. Ball
and
pressure.
I think with some of that too, like I mentioned, the Grizzlies, they did a fair amount of double teaming. If you can double team an entry pass and have the weak side defender come and jump the guy who's standing in the middle of the court, dude, that's breakaway layups all day.
And who was a guy that was off ball that was pretty good at jumping lanes? That's Kevin Porter Jr. The things that Kevin Porter Jr. is good at, he fits into this scheme, dude.
Yeah, that's fair.
He could be a guy that could jump a pass, and he wants to go. He wants to get to the rim, and he can finish with both hands. He's very, very, very sneaky, very smooth when he gets into the paint. So
he wants to dunk on people once in a while.
He's sneaky good, dude. He could be a guy that's like, oh, shit, I didn't realize that he was averaging 18 points per game. Good for him.
And he was for a while before he hurt his ankle like 3 times.
Exactly. And he could be a guy that could average his 2.5 steals per game just off of jumping passing lanes.
Yep. Yeah.
So I just need more ball pressure because not only does that, like I said, all the stuff that it does for you, but it keeps people engaged because now you have a job on both ends of the court. Yeah. So people keeping your players engaged and buying into your process is a good thing too. The wins are going to have to rack up early in the year for people to really buy into the Taylor Jenkins thing after the last couple of years. But if they come out and they win, let's just say they win 7 out of their first 10, I think
you'll be feeling pretty good.
People are going to be like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just the way that Taylor Jenkins talks about people and that aspect of it, that I think guys are going to be bought in before the season even starts. I mean, Pete Nance, Cormac Ryan, Miles Turner, and Bobby Portis were at his introduction.
Yep.
There's been, I mean, I don't want to say like rumors, but there's been like reports and stuff that Giannis and Taylor Jenkins have met several times. So I mean, I don't think it's outlandish to say that the Bucks are going to keep Giannis, look to make one upgrade on the roster as far as a player goes, make this number 10 pick and change the schemes and then say, all right, let's get back to contending.
All right, now you did it. Dude, I don't know how many times I have to explain this to people. The fucking Pistons were just ass 2 years ago, bro. Now they're the number 1 seed in the East. Do you people not understand how fast life moves in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, it took 2 years. 2 years in Memphis. 2 bad years. And they won 56 and 51.
I'm telling you, dude, it's not – you could make a massive jump in the NBA just like that because there's only 5 players. And when 34 is happy and healthy, you have one of the top 2. I'm not putting Shea over Giannis anymore. We're not having that fucking discussion. And I barely put Jokic above him. But I will hear a discussion.
If you didn't want to.
I will hear a discussion on Jokic being better than Giannis. But that is it. That is the only player that I would even remotely hear an opinion on. Nobody else, when healthy, is better than 34. So I'm just going to say that. You have one guy, a guy. You get a system. Dude, if they have a chance, and I haven't finished all my NBA draft stuff, and I've seen a lot of things on Yaxel, bro, he would destroy in this system, bro.
He might end up being my guy.
Long, athletic, can shoot the 3, can finish in the paint. He makes a lot of fucking sense from Milwaukee.
And he's a willing defender.
Makes a lot of – he almost makes too much sense where it won't happen.
Right? Yeah, he's going to end up going 5th overall or some shit.
Yeah, right? I'm not, you know the player that I love the most, but we have no shot at him because he's going to get drafted way before we pick.
He's going to be top 5.
Yes, he is. Probably to Chicago, and it's going to piss me off.
I mean, I don't know if they should pick him. Like, Matas kind of plays the same position, unless you want to move Matas to like a small forward.
They probably should move him to a small forward. The guy.
All right, I'll hear that.
He's not physical enough to play down low and rebound enough. They don't compete enough on the defensive boards. But I don't give a shit what the Bulls do. Fuck them.
Yeah, that's fair. All righty, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like I said, next week we'll have 7 Brewer games and the Timber Rattlers report for the minor leagues. Other than that, stick around. We'll have more stuff coming up in June regarding the Bucks, looking at transactions and the draft. So other than that, we'll see you guys next Wednesday, and thanks for tuning in.